Hi, I'm John from Just Music. If you like today's show, please give it a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. And if you're feeling generous, I have a PayPal email link in the description below. This is my second show. We're still in April of 2025. And today we're going to be talking about the band New England, but also I'm going to be focusing on New England's drummer, Hirsh Gardner, who I recently won this test pressing LP of his brand new album called Third Time's a Charm. And it's autographed by Hirsh with his traditional big hair. If you're interested in buying this on record or CD, you can certainly get it through Deco Entertainment or Amazon or even eBay. And it's on streaming services as well. So check that out. I have a lot to talk about the band New England. And you can see down here, I have a pair of drumsticks. They're Hirsh Gardner drumsticks. And I saw them reunite a few years ago in downtown Plymouth, Massachusetts, at the Spire. And they reunited, and boy, they were great. Really, really good. We're going to talk all about New England. But back to Hirsch's new album, Third Time's a Charm. These guys are in their 70s, and they are so inspiring. Hirsch is so inspiring. He's from the Boston, Massachusetts area, and he's been always involved with music and production. But this new album, his new single off Third Time's a Charm, is called Angel in the Sky. The whole album is very well produced. I think he produced it. Great production, great heartfelt, passionate, heavy rock and roll. And the single Angel in the Sky, he throws in some licks that are paying homage to the first New England album with a little bit of Don't Ever Want to Lose Your Guitar sounding material in there. But he sounds like it's Bon Jovi-esque in that picture Bon Jovi in his prime. Hirsch is in his 70s singing as good, if not better than John Bon Jovi in his prime on Angel in the Sky. It's got a couple of really good hooks in it, and it's a catchy song. I wish him the best of luck, and I hope it becomes a big success. Also on Hirsch's new album, Third Time's a Charm, he does remakes of 3 New England songs, including off the first album, Hello, 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 Don't Ever Want to Lose Ya, and Nothing to Fear. Great job, Hirsch. I'm really enjoying it. Now back to New England. I first saw New England in 1979 at the Providence Civic Center, opening up for Kiss. And that was Kiss's Dynasty tour, where they rose up on 4 pedestals out of the stage. And you have to understand the times as a young teenager, me, seeing this for the first. I saw Kiss's Love Gun tour in 1977, and then the Dynasty tour in 1979. And back then, there were no cell phones, there was no internet, there was no Blockbuster video stores. All you knew about a band's tour was what you read in the music magazines, like Hit Parader and Circus and music magazines like that, even Rolling Stone and Billboard. And then you would hear like a a 30-second commercial on the radio, of a concert, and there was, Don Lore Promotions presents Kiss with special guest New England, and they'd play a couple of sniglets of Kiss's hits, and then they might play a quick song, a piece of a song of the opening band, which in this case was New England. So what a great show. So many great concerts back in the 70s and 80s. And that was the first time I saw New England. And then the last time was recently, just a few short years ago at the Spire in Plymouth. So let's do a little... New England, as a band, released 3 albums. Their first album is self-titled, and this came out in 1979. And Paul Stanley of Kiss produced this album along with Mike Stone. But I'm guessing Paul Stanley had a pretty big part in production of this. And Paul Stanley from Kiss also sings backing vocals on their hit Don't Ever Want to Lose You. So if you're a Kiss fan, this album, I absolutely love this album. I think this album is a gem. There's not a bad song on here. It's so well written, so well produced, and the sound is, heavy melodic guitars, phenomenal vocals, and it's just, it has a nice lush sound. If you're not familiar with New England, they're kind of like the ELO, Sweet, Queen, a little bit of Cheap Trick, and definitely some Beatles influence as well. So that was their first album, 1979. And then in 1980, they released their sophomore album called Explorer Suite, 1980. And this runaround, this was produced by Mike Stone again, but also John Fannin, who is a member of the band New England. This album, for me, didn't resonate nearly as much as the first album. Explorer Suite, the second album here, it's a concept album about a boy waiting for his astronaut father's return to Earth. And I do like, it's not an album I keep going back to, but I do like the title track, Explorer Suite, and I do like Hey, You're on the Run, that's on here. And I like the ending of It's Never Too Late. I like the ending of that. The vocals are incredible. The song Searchin', I like. And the last song, You'll Be Born Again. Again, the vocals are... But this album here, the second album, is a little lighter on guitar and heavier on keyboards. And the sound is overall a bit thinner than the first album, which is a lush masterpiece. And then their third and last album as New England is called Walking Wild, and I have it on CD here. And this was produced by Todd Rundgren at Utopia Studios. And Todd, I think, co-wrote a couple songs on here and played lead guitar on at least one song on here. It's the first song, Walking Wild, is very new wave-ish. This came out in 1981, and I believe Hirsh sings the second song on here, and it's a heavy rocker, and he's just banging out the vocals. I probably like Walking Wild overall better than Explorer Suite, but the first album, self-titled, is what does it for me. And I bought this CD here, Walking Wild, from the New England's website. So they have a website called newenglandrocks.com, and I bought it online through their website. And John Fannin, along with the CD, sent me a nice little thank you autographed on his heading right there. So that's cool. As you can tell, I'm a big music fan, but big New England fan. And also, regarding New England. So, well, before I get into Gary Shea's book, after the third album, John Fannin left the band, and the three remaining members temporarily hooked up with an unknown guitarist at the time, Vinnie Vincent, who was just starting to work with Kiss. So he was rehearsing and recording with a band. They renamed the band called Warrior, and that was in 1982. In the process of all this, Kiss asked Vinnie Vincent to join Kiss, and Vinnie Vincent dropped out of Warrior, and it wasn't a completed entity, but they did release what they had done and some demos. But then right after that, there was another band that took the name Warrior, and they're more of a heavy metal with a rotating line of musicians as well, which are really good. So if you go on YouTube looking for the band Warrior, it's probably going to default to the present band, which started right around the time of 1982. So I don't know the copyright or legalities of how that transitioned, but when that fell apart, Hirsh went his separate ways, and Gary Shea, who just released his biography right here, No Bass, No Party, which I'll talk about in a minute, but him and Jimmy Waldo joined forces and formed a band called Alcatraz that had a very young Yngwie Malmsteen. I think Yngwie was 16 or 17 years old at that time, and they needed a singer. And this is why I'm wearing this Rainbow Down to Earth album. They found a singer, Gary Bonnet. Gary Bonnet did one album with Rainbow Down to Earth, which I absolutely love. And Graham Bonnet's band is coming to the Vault in New Bedford in May, which I am already bought my ticket to go see that. Very much looking forward to that. So the two gentlemen from New England formed Alcatraz, and then after Yngwie Malmsteen left, Steve Vai, who had played with Frank Zappa, became the guitar player for Alcatraz. And then just as that was gaining momentum, David Lee Roth was looking for a replacement for his solo album, and he asked Steve Vai, he goes, "Hey, you want to join my band?" So Steve Vai left Alcatraz to go with Dave's solo band, which was very successful. So the band New England was really, some of the key players had a challenging time transitioning, but they still are active in the music business, and that's what's so inspiring. And so this book here is fairly new. It recently came out. It's Gary Shea's book, and it does not read like your stereotypical sex, drugs, and rock and roll. There's no sex, no drugs. I think he talks about drugs once in here, but there's no wild rock and roll escapades. His book chronicles his life and music and all the bands that he's ever been in since a teenager. And interesting times, he moved to England in the late 60s, and so it talks a lot about the music players of that time, like Spooky Tooth and Humble Pie, and how all those players it was like a revolving door. Everyone's just trying to find a band or a group of people that clicked to make great music. And that, by reading this, you realize how challenging that is. But Gary Shea, who wrote this, he was born in 1950, so he's 75 years old now, and he's still actively playing in bands. And I think they have reincarnated the band Alcatraz, not with Graham Bonnet, but he's working as the band Alcatraz, and Hirsh is doing his own thing in Boston, releasing his new album. And I'm not sure what John or Jimmy are doing in the music world. I think we've covered just about everything that I wanted to cover. Hirsh Gardner is a great drummer, and even Gary mentions that Hirsch is like the human mellotron. Uh, and the only other musician that I've heard someone describe a drummer as a mellotron uh, is Ringo Starr, which he self proclaimed that he is the click track. So, and I cannot argue with that. Ringo is such an underrated drummer. You listen to the Beatles stuff, and Ringo never repeats himself, and he's such a great drummer, and was an inspiration to me, along with Keith Moon and John Bonham. Um, yeah, definitely, and even Mitch Mitchell from Jimi Hendrix loved his style as well. All right, I could ramble on and on here, but check out Hirsch Gardner's brand new album, Third Time's a Charm. It's if you like passionate hard rock melodic music with some roots that go way back, check it out. And if you like today's show, give it a thumbs up, like and subscribe. And if you're feeling generous, there is a link to my PayPal in the description below. So rock on, everybody.